Princess Muna, the mother of Jordan's beloved King Abdullah, is part of a royal legacy admired worldwide. Her grandchildren, Prince Hussein, and daughter, Princess Iman, are cherished figures in the country. Yet Princess Muna herself has never quite enjoyed the same adoration. Once despised by the public, followed by a bitter divorce from King Hussein. But why did it all fall apart? And how, after the dust has settled, did her children ascend to the throne, leaving behind a tumultuous past? Welcome to Never-Ending Celebrities. Princess Muna is now rarely seen, only making appearances at the weddings of her beloved grandchildren. She's always been a quiet, gentle soul, preferring a life away from the spotlight. While Queen Rania is often seen by her side, their close bond speaks volumes. Today, those who admire her once hated her. The pain she went through throughout her life because of the hate is something only she could truly understand. Princess Muna al-Hussein, born Antoinette Toni Avril Gardner on April 25, 1941, had a life that seemed like it was straight out of a fairy tale. She was born in Chelmundison, Suffolk, England, raised as a Christian in the UK, and grew up in a modest yet adventurous family. Her father, Walter Gardner, was a high-ranking army officer, and Toni spent part of her childhood in Malaysia, where her father was stationed. She was an excellent field hockey player and was educated at Bourne School. But after British forces left Malaysia, the school closed and her family moved on to new adventures. In the 1960s, Toni found herself in Stratford, working as a secretary while her father was stationed at Long Marston. Little did she know, her life was about to take an unexpected turn. Her father was then sent to Jordan as a military advisor on water conservation, and Toni followed, landing a job at Jordan Radio as a secretarial assistant on the set of the iconic film Lawrence of Arabia. It was on that film set, in a moment of fate, that she met a man who would change her life forever. Lawrence of Arabia premiered 62 years ago, and while it would go down in history as one of the greatest films ever made, it was also where Toni's own fairy tale began. Among the many faces on set was none other than King Hussein of Jordan, who had allowed his troops to work as extras. The king, curious about the progress of the film, would occasionally visit the set. It was during one of these visits he met Toni at a fancy dress party, where he appeared in a pirate's outfit. The young Toni, not starstruck by his royal status, boldly remarked, "It makes you look rather scruffy, Your Majesty." That comment, playful yet genuine, struck a chord with the king. He later wrote, "For the first time in my life, here was a girl who took an interest in me as a human being and not as a king." At that moment, something shifted. The walls of royalty and the simplicity of life collided, and what followed was a whirlwind of emotions that neither Toni nor the king could resist. It was as if the universe had set up a perfect meeting between a regular young woman and a powerful monarch. Toni, a young woman with no idea of what destiny had in store, and King Hussein, who had never known someone who saw him beyond his crown, found something extraordinary in each other. Their connection was undeniable, and as fate would have it, their love story began, a modern-day Cinderella story, where a common girl met a king, and despite the world around them, love blossomed. When Toni crossed paths with King Hussein in the early 1960s, the young monarch was in his mid-20s, but already well established as the ruler of Jordan. He had been king for nearly a decade, having ascended to the throne in August 1952 at just 16 years old, following the forced abdication of his father, King Talal, due to a diagnosis of schizophrenia. At 18, King Hussein took full control of the monarchy, and his reign began. Although his early years as king were not without challenges, he married his first wife, Sharifa Dina bint Abdul-Hamid, in 1955, a union that was far from one based on love. They had a daughter, Prince Aliyah, in 1956, but their marriage ended in divorce in 1957. By the time he met Toni Gardner, the young King Hussein was already a divorcee and a father, determined to make his second marriage one built on love, and so, fate intervened. In 1961, King Hussein married Toni in a grand ceremony. Her transformation from a commoner to a royal was nothing short of magical, but the path to acceptance was not as easy as it seemed. But here's the twist: the marriage wasn't universally embraced, particularly by those close to the king. There were a multitude of reasons for the resentment. She was a commoner, a Westerner, and a Christian in a Muslim country. These differences, in a society where tradition and religious values were heavily ingrained, created a rift between Muna and the public, as well as within the royal family. The king's mother, Princess Zayn, was particularly unhappy with the union, and she wasn't alone in her disapproval. Despite the challenges, Muna and King Hussein continued their life together. In 1961, Muna embraced her new life, and after converting to Islam, she became known as Princess Muna al-Hussein. Their wedding ceremony marked a blend of cultures. Muna began the ceremony in a Western-style Christian wedding gown, symbolizing her past, but she would soon adopt the traditional ways of her new life as a royal. The couple welcomed 4 children: Abdullah, Faisal, Aisha, and Zayn. Life never stopped testing her. Here comes another twist in her life. Yet despite her growing family, the love between Muna and King Hussein began to fade. King Hussein, ever the romantic, had already found a new love. In 1972, he married Aliya Bahadawin Tukan, later known as Queen Aliya al-Hussein. The relationship between Muna and Hussein faded away, and the king's heart now belonged to another woman. Queen Aliya was loved by the people, and her presence in the royal family marked a new chapter. But tragedy struck in 1977 when Queen Aliya died in a helicopter crash in Iman. Her untimely death left a permanent void in the king's heart, and the royal family never fully recovered from the loss. Muna's marriage to King Hussein officially ended in December 1971, though the divorce was finalized shortly thereafter. King Hussein could have taken multiple wives, but Muna, a woman who valued independence, wasn't willing to share her husband. She chose to walk away rather than accept a life in which the king would marry again. After the divorce, Muna retained custody of their 4 children and was given Humar Palace, located 15 miles west of Iman. Her sons, Abdullah and Faisal, were sent to private schools in Britain to continue their education. Muna, now living a quieter life, could look back on her years with the king, both the good and the bad, but she always put her children first. King Hussein, who married 4 times and fathered a total of 11 children, moved on to marry Liza Najib Halabi, an Arab-American woman of Syrian descent. She converted to Islam and became known as Queen Nur al-Hussein when they married in 1978. Their union marked the end of a chapter for King Hussein, but it didn't erase the complicated history with Muna. After her life with King Hussein came to an end, Princess Muna al-Hussein's journey took a new direction, but she never lost her royal grace. Though the marriage ended, she held on to her royal title, Her Royal Highness, and continued to play an important role in the royal family. When King Hussein passed away in 1999, her son Abdullah ascended the throne. Princess Muna isn't someone who craves the spotlight. In 2018, Princess Muna took a step back into the limelight when she launched the Nursing Now campaign, a global movement designed to elevate the nursing profession and improve healthcare across the world. Her heart had always been in healthcare, and through the years, she had been a passionate advocate for nursing in Jordan. Her first major step came in 1962, when she founded the Princess Muna College of Nursing and Allied Health Professions, initially a military nursing school. She had no idea at the time that it would blossom into one of the most respected institutions in the country, but that was just the beginning. In 2002, when her son King Abdullah created the Jordanian Nursing Council, she became its first president, continuing her work to shape healthcare in Jordan and beyond. In recognition of her tireless efforts, Princess Muna received the Sigma Theta Tau International Archon Award in 2007. Her influence was recognized not only in Jordan, but also in Greece, Iran, Malaysia, Romania, and Tunisia, where she received honors from those nations as well. But even as she became a global figure in the field of healthcare, she never remarried, choosing to remain in Jordan, close to her family. Though she was no longer married to King Hussein, she maintained strong ties with her children, especially with King Abdullah. She was there when he married Queen Rania, a beautiful moment that symbolized the unity of the royal family. Then, in 2023, Princess Muna played a central role once again, this time at the wedding of her grandson, Crown Prince Hussein, with Rajwa Al Saif, a beautiful Saudi Arabian architect, at Zahran Palace. Princess Muna, always elegant and graceful, wore a lilac gown that made her stand out among the royal family. Sitting in the front row, she had the honor of sitting directly across from her daughter-in-law, Queen Rania, a reflection of the closeness between them despite the years. At the wedding of her granddaughter, Princess Iman, in 2023, Princess Muna again showed her importance in the family. Princess Muna had been a lover, a mother, a grandmother, a princess, and an advocate for healthcare, always balancing the demands of royal life with a deep commitment to her country. But what do you think truly defines her? Her humble beginnings as an army brat, the royal crisis, or her resilience to stand tough throughout her life? Let us know in the comments below. And if you're more curious about the Jordanian royals, check out our video on Prince Ghazi, who is speculated to be cheating on his first wife.